Welcome back to Doctrine Forensics. Today we're going to go through the parable of the Good Shepherd. We're titling this video, Stranger Danger for a Good Reason. It's real easy to gloss over the scriptures and not really truly take in everything that Jesus was saying. It is not so much that Jesus is identifying himself as the Good Shepherd, as much as he's trying to warn us to be able to identify this individual that is known as a stranger. We need to take a crawl through approach to this passage one more time to make sure we are rightly dividing the word of truth so that we will not fall victim to fake, phony, and false prophets, teachers, pastors, apostles, and so forth. Let's not become a victim to the wolves that are out there. So we're going to get into a quick review on the parable of the Good Shepherd called Stranger Danger in just a second. When people think of the word stranger, they quickly identify the word stranger with somebody that they don't know. When you read the parable in John chapter 10, Jesus was talking to people about people that they knew that are strangers. So stay with me here. What exactly did Jesus mean when he said, the voice of a stranger they simply will not follow, but flee from him because they do not know the voice of strangers? Well, that passage has always troubled me. I've read it, glossed over it, but I thought it was time to really take a deep dive into that passage for the purpose of benefiting so many people who are enamored with so-called people who call themselves shepherds. And they're not really shepherds. They're just hirelings. They care nothing about the sheep that truly belong to God. So it begs to question, who exactly is this stranger and why should I be concerned? So in context, before you actually jump into John chapter 10, you really need to read John chapter 9 as Jesus was talking about the man that was blind from birth, and this man was healed. The question on the table was, did this man sin or was it his parents' sin? And Jesus said that the works of God might be displayed in him. So the backdrop is about Jesus healing someone, God bringing a miracle, and then all of the contesting that went on with the scribes and Pharisees as to what happened with this man and why in the world would God heal him and who healed him. So John chapter 9 and 10 go together. And when you read John chapter 9 and 10, you'll have a complete understanding of Jesus's parable of the Good Shepherd.
Master, who did sin? This man or his parents said he was born blind?
Neither hath this man sinned nor his parents, but that the works of God should be made manifest in him. I must work the works of him that sent me while it is day. The night cometh when no man can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. Go, wash in the pool of Siloam.
Is this not he that sat and begged?
This is he.
No, he is like him.
I am he.
How were thine eyes opened?
A man that is called Jesus made clay and anointed mine eyes, and said unto me, Go to the pool of Siloam and wash. And I went and washed, and I received sight.
Where is he?
I know not.
How did you receive your sight?
He put clay upon mine eyes, and I washed, and do see.
This man is not of God, because he keepeth not the Sabbath day.
How can a man that is a sinner do such miracles?
What sayest thou of him?
That he hath opened thine eyes?
He is a prophet.
Go bring his parents. Is this your son, who thou sayest was born blind? How then doth he now see?
We know that this is our son, and that he was born blind. But by what means he now seeth, we know not. Or who hath opened his eyes, we know not.
He is of age. Ask him. He shall speak for himself.
Give God the praise. We know that this man Jesus is a sinner.
Whether he be a sinner or no, I know not. One thing I know, that whereas I was blind, now I see.
What did he to thee? How opened he thine eyes?
I have told you already, and you did not hear. Wherefore would you hear it again? Will you also be his disciples?
Thou art his disciple. We are Moses' disciples. We know that God spake unto Moses. As for this fellow, we know not from whence he is.
Why, herein is a marvelous thing, that you know not from whence he is. And yet he hath opened mine eyes. Now we know that God heareth not sinners. But if any man be a worshipper of God, and doeth his will, him he heareth. Since the world began, was it not heard that any man opened the eyes of one that was born blind? If this man were not of God, he could do nothing.
Thou wast altogether born in sin, and dost thou teach us?
Dost thou believe on the Son of God?
Who is he, Lord, that I might believe on him?
Thou hast both seen him, and it is he that talketh with thee.
Lord, I believe.
A judgment I am come into this world, that they which see not might see, and that they which see might be made blind.
Are we blind also?
If ye were blind, ye should have no sin. But now ye say, we see. Therefore your sin remaineth.
So your homework assignment is to read John chapter 9 and 10 in context. I'm going to pick up my reading at John chapter 10. I'm reading from the NSAB, and it reads, Truly, truly, I say to you, he who does not enter by the door into the fold of the sheep, but climbs up some other way, he is a thief and a robber. But he who enters by the door is a shepherd of the sheep. To him the doorkeeper opens, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he put forth all of his own, he goes ahead of them, and the sheep follow him because they know his voice. A stranger they will simply not follow, but will flee from him because they do not know the voice of strangers. So this is a figure of speech. Jesus spoke to them, but they did not understand what those things which he had been saying to them. Many times when you're reading the Bible, it is good to read the Word of God and ask questions. Now, I'm not purporting that you should ever question the authority of the Word of God. I'm saying that you should ask questions about what's being said. So in reading John chapter 10, verses 1 all the way down through 7, the word stranger sticks out because we have to ask the question, who exactly is this stranger? Well, I'm contending that these strangers are individuals, not necessarily individuals that people you do or you don't know, but people who you do know, who are preaching another gospel. And Jesus is calling them a stranger because he doesn't know them. And the people who are following these people that he called as strangers don't know Jesus. I deliberately said what I said as slowly as possible so that you could carry the weight of what Jesus was saying. Jesus was saying that his sheep hear his voice. Those who listen to a stranger, can it truly be said, or do I dare say, that they're not Jesus' sheep? Now, I know I'm stirring up a can of worms here, and I just kicked over the beehive, but it makes you stop and consider, who would Jesus today consider to be a stranger? There's a few people I can name off the top of my head. One of them would be Stephen Furtick. Another would be Andy Stanley. Another would be Bill Johnson. Another would be Bill Winston, Kenneth Copeland, all of the prosperity ilk that are out there. These are people that, although people know who they are, they're strangers to Jesus because of the gospel that they teach. They teach another gospel. Something worthy of consideration, which means potentially there are thousands, 10,000s, even hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people that are following after shepherds, people who call themselves to be pastors or teachers that are teaching a false gospel. And these people don't know the voice of Jesus. So the hard question of the day is, are they really saved? Let's head back to the scriptures. John chapter 10, verse 7. So Jesus said to them again, truly, truly, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. All who came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. If anyone enters through me, he will be saved and will go in and out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. I am the good shepherd, and the good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. He who is a hired hand and not a shepherd, who is not the owner of the sheep, sees the wolves coming and leaves the sheep and flees, and the wolf snatches them and scatters them. He flees because he is a hired hand, and he is not concerned about the sheep. I am the good shepherd, and I know my own, and my own know me, even as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. In reading this parable, there are three distinct characters in this particular passage. There's the stranger, who's also known as the thief, who is also the hired hand. So Jesus identified this individual with three specific characteristics. At the end of it all, there are individuals that are leading God's sheep. They're leading God's sheep inerrantly, and when the time of testing and persecution come, they will no longer be anywhere around to protect the sheep, and the sheep is being scattered. So you say, Doctrine of Forensics, I don't see that today. Well, if you live long enough, you will see it. We're contending that so many people who call themselves pastors and teachers and leaders of mainline denomination churches, organizations, that when push comes to shove, as we say, they will not be willing to sacrifice what they think and believe for the people who they call themselves responsible for. This is the very thing that Jesus warned us about, not allowing ourselves to become subject to someone's inerrant teaching. As we often say here on this channel, you and I are responsible for our own spiritual growth, not our pastor, not our teacher, and not some fake apostle or prophet. I don't know, it just makes you stop and ponder about the mindset of Jesus when he shared this particular parable. It appears to be pretty simple. There are people that are sheep, and then there's people that are not sheep. There are people that are sheep that follow Jesus, and then there's people that call themselves sheep, and yet they follow strangers. I'm going to leave it up to you to figure out the difference. I want to thank you for listening to Doctrine of Forensics. If you like this material, please click, like, subscribe, comment, and share. God bless you and your family.